G'day Phil, and welcome to this interview.
G'day Drongo, Jack, great to see you.
Phil, can you tell us whereabouts in this beautiful Hunter Valley of ours that you were born and grew up?
Well, I was very lucky. I'm still in the same suburb now that I grew up in lovely old Lambton town, suburb of Newcastle. It's actually the most historical old suburb. It's the first suburb to ever have electricity switched on and street lights. That's how old the suburb is. We've got about 6 hotels left now. I think at one time there's 42 hotels, and the old coal miners that lived here were very thirsty.
I can just imagine.
Yeah, there's a real old coal mining sort of town, and sort of a suburb that Cobbett coach horses used to stop here on their trips up from Sydney. I can still take you one day and show you the stables where they used to stay overnight. They'd come up from Sydney and they'd rest their horses here at Lambton, and they stay in the old Lambton Inn and then travel back to Sydney the next day. Yeah, it's great. And Lazotte's Theatre, it's in the old King's Theatre now. Lazotte's, it's just down the road here near them stables.
Oh, okay. And Phil, what would be your earliest recollection of wanting to be in showbiz?
Well, I think from an early age, from about 4 or 5 year old, I can remember every Saturday night my dad had run a talent quest, and I was the youngest of 8. Mum had 4 girls and 4 boys. I was the youngest of the boys, but my dad would run a Saturday night talent quest, and the winner would get a 2-bob chocolate, and that's like the chocolates today that are about $3.50. So we'd all have to have a little act worked out, and I had a whistling act actually. My earliest memories, I had a little whistling act which was whistling the How Much Is That Doggy in the Winter? I think that was my first act, but my first foray on the stage was, I didn't really have that much ambition at that young age to be on stage, but my sister, Stella, my second eldest sister Stella, was a fashion model, one of Newcastle's leading fashion models, and she would always be appearing at these fashion parades. And at the Newcastle Town Hall they mainly were held. And so coming up to a parade that was called Swing in the Spring, and I was only 8 years old, and my sister Stella said, "Can you do us a favour? Can you sing the opening song? I've got a song picked out. I've got to open up the fashion parade on a big rope swing with flowers all entwined down the ropes, and you've got to open up with a song called You're As Pretty As a Picture." A great old song.
Yes.
You're as pretty as a picture, the others are just a copy of you. You're as pretty as an angel from above, and you were just meant for me to adore. So that's how the sort of song went, where you had to sing a line for each model. They'd come down onto the catwalk, because there'd be about 20 models, and so I was on one side of the catwalk, and there was another young kid. He was only about 8 too, one of Matt Tapp's sons. He was a radio announcer in Newcastle, a pioneer of talkback radio, Matt Tapp. His young son was on the other side, and we had to do the song in sequence with the models. We had an old piano player up on stage, and we had to sing this song, and it was actually a good song for a fashion parade, because there was a line there for every model. So that was my first foray into entertainment. But the highlight of the night, on that night, I'll never forget, was at half time on these fashion parades at the town hall. They were run by Easton's fashion stores where my sister worked. They would have a special guest artist. Anyway, the compere come out on stage and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, just returned from a successful time on amateur radio on Australia's Amateur Hour, and just returned down to Newcastle and now living here from Grafton. Please welcome the fabulous Provost brothers." Well, out they come on stage. I'll never forget Bruce Provost and Barry. They're sort of a comedy duo, and Bruce came out on stage with a big purple people eater head made up with a flashing eye, and they were just sensational. So for the rest of their career, I was there. I worked with them for a lot of years. Then later on, and I worked on their very last show on the 29th of October 2014. They rang me and said they had a show on at the Cohoba Sports Club, and they said, "You're our manager." They used to call me their manager. I was their greatest fan, but they always said, they'd say, "Oh, Phil's our manager. We want you to host a show for us." And they said, "We've got to do a 45-minute spot at the Kaiba Bowling Club presentation night." So they said, "You better bring your camera with you too and film the night, because at our age, we're the oldest duo currently performing in the world, at a total age of 162 years between the two of the brothers." But they were absolutely fabulous. And I hosted the night. My eldest son done the sound, and my young daughter, Rose Marie, she was brilliant. She done the filming for the night, and it turned out to be their last show. We didn't know at the time. We thought they'd be doing more shows. They went so good, they got a standing ovation. But not long after, Barry Provost, the eldest one of the Provost brothers, took ill, and he never regained his health, and sadly passed away a few months ago in 2016. Yeah, so that was to be their last show, and luckily it's on, anyone that wants to have a look at it, it's on YouTube. You just type in the Provost Brothers 2014 concert at Kaiba Sports Club, because they're such legendary brothers. They wrote all of those Leyland Brother theme songs, "Travel All Over the Countryside," that's a Leyland song. They wrote all of those songs, and they could just write songs in a minute, you know. They were just so good at it. One of their jingles, called "The Windsor Works Wonders with Windows," Venetian blind commercial, got over 50 years of airplay, and they both got £5 each for doing it.
Oh.
So they got their money's worth, that's for sure. That come, yeah. So that was my early first foray into the entertainment, and happened to be on the same night as the fabulous Provost Brothers.
And Phil, what happened next?
Well, what happened next was I didn't do anything. I went through a sort of a shy sort of period of entertainment. The only entertainment that I'd done for a few years after then was at school, in acting and musicals and that at school, and then I always wanted to be a jockey, so the horses took over and the singing got put in the background a little bit, although I was lucky that I had my first job when I was 9 years of age. I started working as a stable hand at the old stables opposite my old house at Lambton. These two brothers, the Tessier brothers, they were champion harness racing drivers, and they gave me a job as a stable hand. But they also loved Chad Morgan, Slim Dusty, Tex Morton. So the whole time working in the stables, they had the old gramophone going with all them great old artists, and they really inspired me into country music.
Oh, they did?
From working in the stables, yeah.
Wow.
Because I didn't know what direction I was going to go, because I used to have a purple Elvis Presley t-shirt on. Got every song I knew of Elvis. I loved all the Elvis songs, and I was really into Elvis at that age, you know, because I was coming up through that era when Elvis was a big star. But the country music definitely come from my first job working in them harness racing stables.
And I believe that you did start in a band back in the 70s.
Oh yeah, it was sort of a surprise. I never really thought that I'd be in a band, because I really couldn't play anything, and I could, you know, just go along and help a mate of mine, you know, as a roadie. He had a band, and one day he said, "Oh, Phil, would you like to be the drummer in our band?" He said, "Our drummer's left. He's got a transfer in the bank down to Wyong with the Commonwealth Bank, and we want to know if you'd like to be a drummer." And I said, "Gee, how come you asked me?" And he said, "Well, every time we play," he said, "I see you tapping along on the table." He said, "You're right in time. You've got a good time. I can tell by the way you're tapping along all the time with the song." So anyway, I said, "Oh, I'd love to give it a go." So anyway, I looked in the next day's paper, which was a Saturday's Newcastle Herald, for a set of second-hand drums, and see this beautiful set of Premier drums for sale for $150 with all zilch and cymbals, and went up to New Lambton Heights. It was a big house up on the hill there. It happened to be the BHP manager's son's drums, and he got a new set. A rich kid like him, you get a new set every birthday. But anyway, he sold me this beautiful old set, and the band was called Magnus, 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 and we started working around the clubs, and I loved those days of drumming, and I didn't find out till years later that my grandfather, he was a drummer in the old days in bands, but of course in them old days when he played in most bands they used to use bones to keep the rhythm. They didn't have drum sets till about the 30s I think, but he was in the local bands around Menangle where my father grew up. My father was born at Menangle. He was one of 19 children, and that's where probably I got most of my love of music from, because they were called the Magical Mahonies, and all the girls played piano by ear. They all sang. My father played the harmonica, another brother played the accordion, another one played the fiddle. They all had their own little show together, and they worked for the MacArthurs, the first people who brought merino sheep to Australia. And all the royals would stay there, coming over from England in them early days, when because my dad was born in 1901. So when he was a young kid, about 7 or 8, he said that Mr. MacArthur would come up and say, look, I want you to put a show together. In 6 weeks' time, we've got the princess coming, or the duke, or whatever royal was coming. And so they had to rehearse and put a show together. And so they'd have the big mansion there at Menangle, there in the MacArthur's estate there, big Menangle house. They'd stop there, and then there was a big lawn area at the front. All the royals had had tea, cup of tea, and had a little Devonshire, little afternoon cup of tea and cream buns or whatever they like them, them lovely English royals. And then my father's family would put the show on. My dad's job was the performing sheepdogs. He had them doing all sorts of tricks. Even when I was a kid, he still was doing it. But he used to have the sheepdogs pushing a baby in a pram. Another sheepdog would play the piano by his nose, all those different things. He could teach dogs to do anything. He just had that knack, My daughter's the same now. She's taken after him. She has the same thing. She can get dogs to roll over and sit up and do anything, just straight back to my father. And then so then my dad, then he got a job in a silver mine down at Urandra, not far from Menangle, but then that closed down. And then he come to Newcastle and got a job at Lysards. Worked for 47 years there, rode his push buck every day and come home with a gold watch after 47 years. No superannuation them days. 47 years, gold watch, and about $3,000 in work service leave. Yeah, shame it didn't come in earlier for them tough old workers, No, they worked hard, but he still loved his music. I'd take him to concerts all the time. Sunday afternoons was filled with going to all the different concerts, and then I didn't know at the time that I was going to be on the stage there. 1976 was my big breakthrough year. My guitarist in Magnus, he said there's a talent quest on the South Leeds Club run by NBN3 television. He said, why don't you go in it, Phil, and do a couple of songs? And so I went in the talent quest. It was run by the South Leeds Club and NBN3 television. And I won my heat and semi-final, and then I won the grand final. And then part of that prize then was to go on the books of Newcastle's only entertainment agent at the time, Iris Mills, where we would have 2 Sydney acts performing at most of the clubs. Sunday afternoons there'd be about 20 different clubs with concerts. Usually had 2 Sydney acts, and they'd have 1 local act, which I ended up getting a lot of work doing the compare, and then doing 2 45-minute spots. We used to get $45 and the Sydney acts would get $350. But it was a lot of fun and we enjoyed it. There were great days, and I remember I was working at New Langton RSL doing a guest spot there one Sunday afternoon, and the old manager there, he'd come to give you $45 at the end of the day. And he said, it's not much money, but he said, we had a lot of big stars come through here. He said, I'll show you my old book. He had a book going back for years. He said, there's Kamal worked here once, he got $65. And I seen Kamal, he only seen Kamal a couple of years ago, and I said, I remember an old manager of the club showed me your name there where they paid you $65. He said, I don't think it was that much. He said, they taxed me as well. Oh. He said, I probably ended up with about $45, yeah. Yeah, but no, he's a lovely bloke, Kamal, yeah. Met a lot of great people doing those days, that was really big. The concerts, there was more entertainment in Newcastle in the 70s than there was in Las Vegas. It was incredible, the amount of entertainment. But then the booze bust came in, the breathalyzer bust, in the early 80s, and it just all died out, you know. And it was a shame because they were great days. And as I said, my old dad, he'd come along and he, well, I think I learned a lot from them early days, taking him to these concerts, and I used to sit in the audience and see what got the crowd going. And what it was lots of audience participation, the right songs where they could sing along with, and you know, and they always went over well, you know. I remember one day I got 3 standing ovations, 3 encores at New Length and RSL, because I had a medley of songs where the crowd there, they was right at the stage, you could reach out and touch the first row. But they loved singing along, because I remember going there when my younger days with my dad, and as soon as you do a few old Al Jolson songs or sing-along songs, the crowd would just lift, you know. With the 2 Sydney acts, well, the first one was scary. A few women fainted. There was a guy called Alec Zahn the Mystic, and he cut his stomach here, and then he had cotton first, that's right. Yeah. He had all this cotton, and then he cut his stomach and pulled all the cotton out of his stomach, and he had all this fake blood. And so that didn't go over that good. That, you know, a lot of people, you know, nearly a couple fainted. And then another act was on, didn't sing any songs that people knew. They were all new songs, and you look at the audience, they were all over 55, 60, you know, 70s, 80s, they were looking for the old songs, you know, and so they didn't go over that good. Then I'd come out just as a local act to finish my spot, and I thought, oh, I'm going to give them all these old sing-along songs, and the crowd, you know, just, you could see them rise, you know, and just to join in, they just love to be part of it. The Newcastle audiences, a great audience, you know, if you didn't forget them and you included them in. And I used to have a lot of things where I'd get them up on stage as well. I'd have a lot of wigs and props, and I'd have people up on stage impersonating Elvis Presley, Johnny O'Keefe, all those sort of things, you know. That I didn't have the greatest voice, of course, in the world, but I was more of a compere, but it was just the right material. And that's the same as when I won the Talent Quest in 1976 at South Leeds Club. There was a guy I beat, he was an ABC recording artist, he had a lot better voice than me, but he just stood there, and I put a lot of presentation into my couple of songs and that, and I got the first prize. But the biggest surprise I got, it was worth $100 and a trip to the Snowy for 2. And $100 back in 76 was, you could, you know, probably live on that for a couple of weeks, 10 days, you know. Where today you wouldn't last a day, you're gone, you know. But anyway, when I walked off stage, a gentleman come up to me, a well-dressed gentleman, probably like, you know, in his middle age, and he shook my hand, and he said, and he had $100 in his hand in cash, and he shook my hand and put the $100 into my hand, and I said, what's that for? And he said, that's a little sling for you. He said, my name's Brian Carlson. He said, and I like having a bet. He said, I'll bet on anything actually, but he said, I seen you win your heat in your semi-final, and he said, I had $1,000 on you at even money with the SP bookie here, and he said, that's a little sling for you. Oh. Well, Brian Carlson, I'd never met him before, but my brother, Bluey, my eldest brother, he was a champion rugby union player and champion league player, and Brian Carlson was a champion rugby league player. He played for Australia. He played 10 games for New South Wales and 4 for Queensland, as a matter of fact. He played for both states, because when he finished playing down here in Newcastle, he got a job as a coach up in Roma, and got picked with the Queensland side as well. So he was a great player, but I'll never forget that day meeting him for the first time, and him shaking my hand and putting $100. I thought, nice, it was nice of him to give us a sling.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Phil, can you tell us about your very first recording?
Oh, the very first recording was 1975. I recorded a single. My brother Bluey, he bought a hotel up at Dunedoo, and in 1974. And Bluey rang one day and he said, "Oh, can you do us a favour, Phil? Can you record a song for the Dunedoo Rugby League team? They haven't got a team song. Could you write one and record a song for the Rugby League song?" Because he knew that I loved rugby league too. I played rugby league for West Rosellas and coached for West Rosellas, and because my brother was a mad keen rugby league player, Bluey, and I followed him a lot from a young kid. But anyway, so I thought that'd be no problems, I'll have a go at it. So anyway, I had a piano player that I was doing some work with, and his son, and a sax player, and we got together and we wrote this song to the tune of John Brown's Body Lies a Moulding in the Grave, I think, because I found the most successful rugby league songs have a well-known tune.
That's right.
Like the most successful one at the moment, as soon as they win a game, the crowd knows the tune and they're singing up, up, Cronulla, la la da da da. You can hear, and there's a trumpet player in the crowd there at Cronulla, you know, and that's to the tune of Roll Out the Barrel.
That's right.
You know, you can't beat them old tunes, they're just so good. And so we come up with John Brown, da da, oh Danny do are the best when they're put to the test, da 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 da. Yeah, so anyway, we come up with, oh that'll do. Well, so we wrote the song, and there was only one recording studio in Newcastle at that time called Vista Records in Hemel Street, Wickham, and we're just off Hemel Street, Wickham, I think it was. Then days up the side street, Annie Street, I think, Wickham. And matter of fact, I just seen the old guy that owned it when I was shopping the other day over at Coles there, walking through, and Laurie Ryan was walking through there, and he remembered those days there in his studio, and we got chatting about it. But that was my first single, and we had to pick out a song to go on the other side. So the sax player, Teddy Walker, he said, there's a good song I got here, he said, it's called The One-Armed Bandit, and it's all about poker machines. An Eddie poker machine song it was. Funny song, but pull that handle down and the pretty wheels go spinning round and round. Something like that. I can't remember the words there, but anyway. So in them days it's funny, like, because you go to a studio now and with computers you get any sounds you want to add in. But on the way to the studio we called at my club, West Leeds Club at New Lambton, and I took my little tape recorder in with me and stood near people playing poker machines to get the sounds of poker machines and took that with me to the studio and got Laurie to add that in onto the song. So that went on the other side of the Dunny Do song. But anyway, that was my first foray into recording, because I never really had much ambition in recording. I didn't think I had that good of a voice like for recording, but I enjoyed it. And actually it went to #1 on the jukebox on my brother's hotel, at the Royal Hotel. Yeah, because my brother was coaching the rugby league as well as owning the hotel up there, Bluey, and all the footballers had come in after training, and they'd all play the song and sing along with it. So Bluey rang me one day and said, gee, your song's popular up here. He said, it's #1 on the jukebox. So that was the first one. But anyway, I started writing. I found I started to get into a bit of songwriting, but I couldn't write to save my life. If someone said, can you write me a song today, it mightn't come till a couple of years' time. It's one of those things. But one night I was singing in the late 70s at the BHP Bowling Club. It was a Friday night show that I done there with a keyboard player. We done it as a duo. Her name was Princess Chick Marungi. She was a Maori princess. She was a granddaughter of the Queen of Mokau Village on the North Island, New Zealand. She came here in the late 60s and she met an ex-rugby league champion player, Jack Gibbs, who was a widower. She met him and married him, and then they started working around the club. She had a big theatre organ, bigger than this bar, and it sounded like an 8-piece orchestra. And so I won a talent quest with, that's right, I went in a talent quest. Another one I went along, only second talent quest I ever went in, was at the Warners Bay Bayside Tavern. But I went along to see a workmate who worked with us at the Meatworks at Newcastle, this mate of mine called Paul Miller. And he was always singing through the day every Gene Pitney song. He knew every Gene Pitney song, and he had that range of Gene Pitney. So everyone told him about this talent quest on a Thursday night at Warners Bay at the Bayside Hotel. And so I thought, well, Thursday night I'll go along and see Paul. We talked him into going into it. So we all went, about 20 of my workmates went along to see Paul have his first performance, to get up and in this talent quest. And Paul didn't show. He got cold feet, stage right before he hit the stage and didn't turn up. So everyone said to me, oh, you better get up, you know, Skippy, they call me Skippy, that's my nickname. They said, Skippy, you better get up and do a song. So I got up and I done the Gundawindi Grey, old Tex Morton song, and because since I was 9 years of age, I was a fan of, I'd have an old radio at home, the old big old stand-up HMV radio, and I could fit in the back of this radio. And I had one of my mum's uncles, never got married, this Uncle Bill, and he'd often come to our place and he'd go to the SP bookie before he arrived, and he'd have all these bets on a Saturday, and I'd find out what he backed, and then I'd get in the back of the radio with a schooner glass and broadcast whatever horse he had just getting beat on the line or something. He was half shot, he didn't know, he thought he'd got beat for sure. But I started imitating Ken Howard, he was my race called hero, and so I continued on with those fan of race calls. For years people would get me at Melbourne Cup parties and that to do the Melbourne Cup and all that, so I really admire those race callers, but you know how they can remember all their horses, but I only can remember about a dozen, and I'd broadcast a race, but to be an actual race caller I'd never have the memory, you know, for it. But anyway, on this night I sang the Gundawindi Grey, and I'd include the 1971 Hill Stakes. And as they went around the home turn and straightened up for the run of the judge, it but Desert Bow leading from Big Butch and coming around the outside, Alto Khan, but down the outside, what's this coming? It's the Gundawindi Grey, it's Gunsin, and Gunsin now, the Gundawindi Lawnmower wins again. So I did a little bit of a race, mainly from the home turn and broadcast, and so I won the talent quest. So this chick, Princess Chick Marangi, she'd come and approach me and said, oh, she said, that was great. She said, can you work with us around the pubs and clubs and that? And I said, oh, look, I'm always after work, I never knock anything back. And so she said, well, what we do, we turn up at a hotel, we do a talent quest, and the winners are judged by audience applause. So they'd pack them in because all the friends, relations had come along. That's why so many of us went along that night to see this mate of mine, Paul Miller, sing, and he didn't turn up. And so you could stack the audience, and the audience that could win you the talent quest. But it worked good for the public, and it was happy because there'd be big crowds there. Everywhere they worked, they had big crowds because of the way they run these talent quests. But then Chick could do a lot of songs. She was a great singer, typical the Maori, beautiful harmonies. And God rest her soul, she only passed away last year in 2015, I think it was, aged 89. But this night we were singing at the BHP Bowling Club. A gentleman came up, a well-dressed gentleman, and he said, I'm just wondering if you could do me a favour. He said, my name's John Baldwin. He said, my horse has just won the Golden Slipper a couple of weeks ago, Luskin Star. And I said, oh yeah, I've seen the race. I said, a mate of mine, Johnny Wade, who used to be my best mate when we worked in the stables together at Roy Hinton's. I worked in the racing stables there with him in my young teenage years, and I said, he's a good mate of mine. He said, well, could you write a song for us? I'd love to write a tribute song for the horse, you know. And he said, I just heard you do the Gundawindi Grey and the Phenom race call, it was great. He said, could you write me a song and put a race call in it for us? And that's anyway, Chick and I got together because Chick had already been writing a few songs. She had a bit of a knack for songwriting and could put the music to it. And she said to me, Phil, if you can write the lyrics and I can put the music to it and we'll give it a go. So anyway, we worked on it for a couple of weeks, and then we went to the Hunter Theatre at Merriweather. For some reason, Chick knew someone there and said we can use the old picture theatre to record the song, the demo. And we done the demo, and then we invited the syndicate over, John Baldwin and his other syndicate members of Lust and Star come over to Chick's place where we used to rehearse at Kings Road, New Lambton, and they loved the song, and they said, well, could you record it for us? And I said, well, I could, but I said, I really haven't got much of a profile, but I said, what about if I'd get Johnny Tapp, someone like him, because I said, Johnny's great. I said, Johnny's got a song out called Little Hondo about Trotter, and I said, he does a great job. And I said, what about if I contact Johnny Tapp? So anyway, we got in touch with Johnny Tapp, and Johnny said to me if I could send down the demo to him, and so we waited about a couple of days, it only was, and John rang me, and Johnny Tapp said, I love the song, Phil, it's great. He said, I'll record it for you at M7 Records, and he said, we'll give you a ring when it's finished. And so anyway, he went into M7 Records and recorded the song, and that was my first song I ever had like recorded on a major label, and by Johnny Tapp, which was great. But then Johnny rang me a couple of weeks after the song was released, and he said, oh Phil, can you do me a favour? He said, I just had a phone call from Channel 10, they want me to sing the song on the Keep Pace with Harriet show. And anyway, but he said, I'm contracted to Channel 9, which he was at the time. He used to be full-time at Channel 9 doing the racing and that. And then in later years, the Lotto, Draw, John the Dill. But anyway, he said, I can't go on to any other station. Can you do me a favour? Can you go on Channel 10 and sing? So anyway, I thought, well, I'd never sang on Sydney television. I had appeared in the NBN3 at Newcastle a few times, but this was live too, and I thought, we'll give it a crack at that age, at that key. Yeah, off we go. So Chick and myself, and we had two backing female vocalists, Kerry Palmer and Debbie Majowski, and the Keep Pace with Harriet show, it was a daytime variety show hosted by Johnny Pace and his then wife Harriet. And Johnny said, you've got a couple of good acts to support today. He said, you've got the Drifters and Mark Holden. He's going to sing a new song he just wrote. So anyway, we done our song, the Lust and Star song, live, and it was great. It was in August 1977, and anyway, then Johnny Pace come up to us after we'd done the song, and he said, would you mind doing another song? He said, that was great. He said, can you do another one towards the end of the show? So we thought, we'll do, because we had the backing vocalists there, the two female backing vocalists we used to use in Newcastle on a lot of our shows, and they liked the song called Sentimental Journey. I want to take a sentimental journey. Anyway, we done that song, and that went over good. And then after we finished, we walked through the other studio, and to finish the show that day was Mark Holden. The Drifters had already done their song, I think, Under the Boardwalk, I think. But anyway, and then Mark Holden was there, and all the band was just sitting there with their arms folded, having a drink and a smoke. And Mark Holden was miming the song, and I'd never seen anyone mime before. And he was Mark miming this song, Reach Out for the One Who Loves You. And over an 18 months period, Mark wrote, I think Mark had about 4 songs in the top 40. Yeah, he had a real great period, about 18 months during that late 70s, and then he went to America then. But anyway, then we all went, after Mark finished, we all went to the station canteen there for a luncheon, and the Drifters and Mark Holden and Princess Chick, myself and the girls and the crew. And I just said to Mark Holden, how come you didn't use that great 12-piece backing band there, the studio band? He said, well, I just finished doing the recording last week, and I thought the band might muck it up, so I just wanted people to hear it, as best they can. So he said I wasn't going to throw it at the band, without, too much rehearsal, of course, but they didn't have time to rehearse. So he said that's the reason he minds, yeah.